Welcome all, Raymond for Stream Gamers with yet another video. This time we're going to be discussing Blender slash 2024 SDK and the like. Alright, so let's get started. This is an airport that I have customized and changed. All those buildings down there you see, with the exception of this building over here and this building over here, all of the other buildings that you see along here are buildings in which I have created myself. So this scenery package was made in 2020 in the SDK, as well as the exporter for Blender, version 2, I believe it was, the one that we used for a long time to do exporting out of Blender and creating these entities. So all these buildings were created in Blender 4 with the export tool, which was, I believe, 2.0 something or other to that effect. At any rate, now what this video is about is to try to show you how to and some of the issues that some of the third-party developers are actually having, and why it's taking longer for the store to come active and alive, because it isn't quite as simple as it sounds. So let's just quickly look at my scenery here. Now, in 2020, these buildings are all lined up nice and neatly along this side. These buildings are pulled forward and to match kind of all of these ramps, as it were, okay? But you can see what's happened is the buildings are located correctly, but in 2024, the taxiways have shifted ever so slightly to the left. And because of that, now we got our buildings on the taxiway. Okay, so that's the problem. Now, the solution, one would think, is simply just go into the SDK and pull the buildings back, save it the package, put it back together, and be done with it. And there is that's what I attempted to do. So I'm going to show you what happens when I do that. So if I go open the package, which is not there. Let me go back here. Let me go back here. Let me go back here. Open up this package. Okay. So that'll take a moment to load. Another thing I don't like, I haven't been able to find a solution for it. But anyway, I'll get with that. So we're presented with this, and it wants us to update the current package to the new SDK, which is 2024, which one would think, okay, that's quite simple. Let's just hit update all and let's get it updated, right? Okay, so there we are. There's our asset groups, right? If we go here and we load it into the editor, all the buildings come back. It takes a second or two for them to come back because this is the actual scenery pack that I have in. But if I were to move these over and then reload or save the scenery and then reload it, I see I have an unknown entity there already. And I know what that one is. That's an aircraft. For some reason or other, did not get loaded into the package. Okay, but let's just get rid of that. All right. So, one could just simply say, well, let's just grab this, pull it back, away from the taxi-ish way. Let's put on a weather that's not full of snow, maybe. Well, there should not be snow here. Anyways, maybe it's because of the SDK. Anyways, so and the other thing I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to move this forward. Now, I'm not going to do them all because I know the end result of what will happen. Okay? Okay, so we know we've moved, let's move one more, just so we can say, we know we've moved the first two buildings on this side. We've moved the first building on this side. And let's move the second building on this side as well. Okay, so there we go. Now it's as simple as saving the package, hitting the SDK, reloading it, yes. And eventually we are going to get an error. That's one of the errors that I continuously get. Now, it's not the end of the world, but I know what the cause of that error is. But we're gonna omit that for now. Okay. So now I'm going to get out of the sim because I've saved the package. So I'm gonna close it. Get out of the sim. Back out. And I will be back with you on the other side once I get the sim reloaded back up again. Okay, so we have what we've done so far. I have loaded in the newly saved package, and I've put that into the community folder for 2024. And what we should be seeing is these buildings move over it. But you can already see it. There are no buildings here now. Whereas before, there were a bunch of buildings. But we'll just go in there and let's get ourselves logged in. I just want to make sure that I did put the right stuff in. Yeah. Okay. Let me get myself into the aircraft, and then I'll get some daylight hours here so we can see things a little bit better. I'm going to get rid of the snow. I'm going to try to get rid of the snow. It doesn't seem to be doing this very... Oh, I see, because I got to do that check. Okay. All right. So now let's go into the developer. And you can see what's happened. These buildings are the default buildings that exist here. Okay. Now, why did it do that? Oh, I know why it did that, don't I? Let me just verify something here quickly, so I can make sure that I know what I'm doing. I don't think I've done this correctly, to be honest with you. Let's go back to the community. Let's go back to here. This is still a 2020 package. Well, let's now reopen that package again. Yeah, these are the default, but you see the error that exists there. And if we were to go here and load that into the editor, there it is. Now all the buildings have disappeared that were there, including the original buildings. And if you notice along the left-hand side, you're going to see a bunch of unknown. If I were to search in here, unknown, you see all of that is an unknown. Remember, we moved this building to match the taxiway, this building, and this building. But the buildings aren't even there anymore, and that's because they're amongst all of these unknown buildings. There's a lot of buildings that I've placed here. I think, for the most part, I think every one of these little things you see here is a building, and I think I have placed a building in every one of them. Anyways, so now let's find the solution to correct the problem. So I believe where the problem lies is in, nope, shop, this one. So this is one of the shops that I've got down here, and it's this one right here that when we look back and we look at this error that it's showing us, that's the error in which it's no. Oh, there's a whole bunch of errors. Let me do that. Let me do this again. There. It's this building, shop 4050-R00-1. So, excuse me, I looked into this, and I had a newer version of this, and so I decided to put that in. It still didn't work. Now, in my directory, if you look, these are two shop buildings that I made, and there's this one, and there is the 2020 version of that building, which is causing the error. And there's the 2024 version of that building. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because I want to go over Blender a little bit. So, if we open, let's save this. If we open which one are we doing? We're doing 4050. Let me back up. 4050. Let me open that one up. I'm going to open up version 2 because that's the one we're dealing with, but it's still the same problem. So there it is. That's loaded. Now, that building has been exported out using Blender, but using the exporter for 2020, not the exporter for 2024. And because I didn't use the exporter in Blender for 2024, that's what's caused that building to become unknown. That's what's caused that building to not be there, and so forth and so on. So I'm going to kind of prove out that, hopefully. I don't know which one of these buildings that are in here is the unknown, but I'm going to leave them all there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this package and I'm going to put it into now, am I in 2020 or am I in 2024? Guess it doesn't matter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in to right in here, okay? And this is where it picks up all the stuff from. If we look here in the objects folder and I type in the airport CJB3, you notice it doesn't even show up that it has any assets, because those assets are all based on 2020. Okay, so let's put this package here, copy, and I'm going to just quickly verify that I am where I think I am. Yes, I'm in the 2020 package. See? Right there it says 2020. Take 2 2020. Okay? And so then if I go back into here, and I take a copy of this, copy, and you notice that, actually back up, 2020, take 2 2020. So that's where I'm putting the information in on the model lib. So it's in here. Now, if I were to look into here, somewhere's in here, I'm going to find something that says shop. Shop, there's one. There's this one right here. So that's the one that's giving me the errors, but none of the buildings are showing. And none of the buildings are showing because they've all been exported, I believe, because they've all been exported using the Blender export tool for 2020. This building that I have on my clipboard is the building used, or it has been exported for 2024. Now, let me get rid of, there's 2 of them in here, I see that. let me get rid of, this is the offender one right here. Let me get rid of that one. Make sure that I'm just, I got to double check to make sure I'm not doing something that I shouldn't do. Okay. Now I'm going to paste the new one back in. The replace was to replace the existing textures. That's what it was referring to. So there's the building, all right, with the shop 4050 version 2. Okay. So then we're going to go into here. We're going to clear up the errors, and we're going to rebuild. I'm still going to get some errors, I think, yeah. But if I've done this correct, my feeling is not right. Oh, man, I was convinced I had this licked. CJB3 doesn't show up. Okay. One other thing that we're going to do is in the model lib that I've loaded here, I'm going to delete all of the buildings out. See? Boop, gone. I'm going to go back into here, and this building here, I'm going to copy, and I'm going to put that building in, and only that building. Okay? So now, I'm going to rebuild the package. It's still showing this. Don't know why. I'm going to rebuild the package again. Still showing the error as if I still have that in there, and I don't. Now, okay. Let's go File, Open. This is the package that I opened. Open. Okay. Take 2. Package source, scenery, model lab. There it is. So I do not have that package in there at all. Let's reload it. Yet it still says, let's do this. Oops, let's type unknown, correct. Unknown. Get rid of all of that. And then, let's go back into here. What I'm going to do here now is I'm going to delete this out. I thought I was going to delete that out, but I'm okay. So there, it's been deleted. I still have a copy of it there. So I have nothing in there. Now we're going to build. The sim is going to take a minute or two to kind of filter through what I've all done. Kind of hangs a little bit. There we go. So no, it hasn't quite. There we go. Let me hit build. Removing. So it's removing. It looks like it's removing all of that stuff, and yet that error still exists. Isn't that something? When I don't have that in there at all, I have nothing in there at all. Nothing in the model lib directory. Anyways, let's rebuild it again. Zero errors, see? So there's no errors. Excuse me. So there's no errors. We got rid of the problem, right? Now, if I go into here and you see there's no asset group here for this airport. Okay. So now we'll pull this back over here again. Now we'll copy this. And this has been a copy that I have updated it going through Blender and using Blender's 2024 export utility. Okay, so that's what that is. Now we're going to paste that into here. Yep. Okay. Then we're going to go here, and we're going to give it a second, and we're going to build it. The sim is kind of, I'm assuming what's happening is it's kind of calculating that, hey, there's stuff in that directory I need to be aware of. Now notice that there's no errors. They're all gone. Okay. Now notice here for the CJB3 airport, there's now an asset group. And there is now this hangar, this shop 4050 R02. And if I put that in, there it is. And it functions, and it will stay there now. Let me get back into here. So what I'm trying to illustrate, and maybe poorly, I apologize, but hopefully all of you stayed to the end of the video to hear some of this stuff. I'm going to make a comment in the beginning, a little text blurb in there. I wish I had said that in the beginning, but anyways, what I've discovered in trying to rebuild or edit an existing airport that you have created some assets for. Now, the first thing that I've discovered is you do have to re-export those assets out in a Blender and or whatever software you're using with the new export utility. How do you get the new export utility? Well, because we have 2024 SDK, when we go here and we go to install, and we go to here and we go to the SDK, so I still have both SDKs, but this is the new one, and we go to tools and we go to Blender and we go to add-ons, there is the new SDK. It does say 2024 on it. Make sure it says that, okay? Otherwise you've got the wrong one again. I've tried to keep the other one installed, and I was having some erroneous problems with it. I watched a YouTube video where a fellow said you have to remove it in order if you want to use it. Now, the good thing about Blender is you can have two different versions of Blender installed, right? So you could have version 4 with 2024 exporter on it, version 3.5 with 2020 exporter on there, and you should be good. I haven't tested it, so, but anyways, that's how you get that in there, and then you just hit install, and then once you've hit installed, you'll have to make sure you put the check mark on it, and that you have the check mark put on it, which is right here. I've got that on. Now the exporter works, and you look at along this side here, you're going to see Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 tool. Okay, so this is the exporter. Okay, and the exporting is done basically the same way as you would any other export that you would use with Blender, right? You have to set the path and where you want to do the export to, right? And this is the path where I've set it to go to. Now, you could, in theory, you could export this directly to your model.lib directory within the airport that you're trying to update, right? So you could just export them directly in there. I'm going to not do that. I'm going to export them into my normal directory structure. Those that have watched my videos will know that I kind of have a process, and so under the shops directory, I have the 40 shop 40 by 50. These are the 2020 versions, and there's the 2024 versions, and that's version 2. And I will use that same directory structure all the way along. But after you've exported this out, and then when you export it out, you then get this. Now, what you don't do is you get this that says collection. I always just right click, rename, copy, and the one that says collection, just right click and rename it so that they all have the same naming convention. Then you take that and you move that over to, and I'll go back to the beginning of the airport. I'm going to try to go to the beginning again. There. So we were in the 2020 Steinbach, yeah. Package sources. scenery, airport, model lib, and you paste it into here. So let's go back here. And you see now that that hanger is there, and that hanger will persist after I save it out, shut the sim down, move that package over to my community folder, reboot the sim up, go back into the SDK just to continue to edit and stuff like that. That hanger will persist. You will not have the problems that you had before. So the conclusion of all of this, number one, is your third party assets that you've gotten from somewhere else. They need to be compatible. If they're not, you may run into these problems. If you're creating your own assets, they need to be compatible, and you need to re-export them out of Blender or whatever your utility is that you're using. I use Blender, but so you need to re-export them out using that new 2024 exporter in Blender out. Then you need to go in and basically remove all of the assets that show you the unknown. Now, you're going to say to yourself, you might be saying to yourself, well, why don't these go do that? Well, because these ones have already been updated. These are assets that I've taken from the SDK that Microsoft has provided. So those are presumably already updated assets, and so they still work. But all the assets that you've created and or that you've gotten from somewhere else, you do need to make sure that they've been exported out in the 2024 exporter within Blender. The next thing that you need to be aware of is if you have created airports and you haven't used any other assets other than what is defaultly provided to you here, through here, then you're fine, because I suspect Microsoft has updated all these assets to work inside of the SDK for 2024. So you have nothing to worry about. Okay? So in conclusion, what do we do when we're confronted with this? Well, my previous airport that I've done across town, I did just that. I exported out them all into the 2024 Blender package, moved them all over there, removed all of the other stuff out, put it all back in properly, put it back onto the ground, reorganized it all, and huzzah, it's there. Now, it takes some time. So we look at why Microsoft has taken the hit or the blame for why the store isn't open. Well, if they have a responsibility, it is only because they didn't get the SDK out to the users soon enough, such as myself. I've got some 100 airports that I have created that I'm going to be doing this through. Now, a lot of them have default scenery, so I don't have to worry about that, but there are quite a few of them that don't. So, and I'm a one-man show. I don't have endless of hours to sit at the computer for 14 hours a day, 7 days a week to do this. So it's going to take me some time. Likewise, I think other developers are under the same problem that I have. You know, they've got a bunch of stuff that they've published and put out there through sim.2 and through the store and all that stuff. And all that stuff has to be updated. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to rebuild the airports. Now, one thing I haven't tried, and that is having my existing airport in the 2020 version, load it all back up, see all the buildings that were there, and then build the package out, okay, move it back in, take the old one out of the community folder and I put the new one back in, and when all the buildings disappear with that list of unknowns, would it be just as simple as deleting all of the existing stuff out of the model lib directory and then putting all the good stuff into the model lib directory, rebuilding the package with all the buildings reappear in their native positions where I put them? I think they probably don't, but I might try that just out of expediency. Those that have airports that have 30, 40, 50 buildings, I feel for you, because I think this is an exercise that you all have to do. And we're all going to have to do. I wish Microsoft would have given us the SDK sooner, that we could have troubleshooted it, we could have understood this, we could have filtered through it all and realized this is what we needed to do, and then get to doing it. Because I think, had we had more than, 4 weeks of notice, if we had had the SDK where we could have done this, or if we had been told, hey, assets that you've created using an exporter in Blender or otherwise, based on the SDK for 2020, you're going to have to re-export all of those out. I don't know what we would have done, because I don't know we would have had the exporter out until October 20, I think is when it came. So anyways, I rant a little bit. This is what I found. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, down there in the comment section, greatly appreciated. I'm going to get to work, and I'm going to rebuild this airport with the newly exported 2024 exported Blender objects, and I'm going to rebuild it all like I did the other airport, and then the airport should be fine. Now, one final note, and that is, if you have this airport through sim.to, and if you've put it into your community folder, and you're not a developer and you're just looking at the scenery and you just want to have it because you want to have it, you don't have to do anything. Because I just showed you at the very beginning of the scene, at the very beginning of the video, the buildings are there. Now, the unfortunate thing is none of them line up with the taxiways properly, but the buildings are there. So if you're not a developer, you don't have to do anything. You have to rely on the developer to fix the problem. Me being a small developer, but a developer nevertheless, I'm going to do my best to get it fixed and get it uploaded to sim.to, so those that do use this airport and the other one will be able to do that effectively in 2024. So that's what I've discovered. Again, like, comment, subscribe, all those wonderful things. Raymond, Stream Gamers, I appreciate your time. Don't worry about the little things. They'll look after themselves. Fix the big ones that you can fix. The big ones you can't, don't sweat them, because you can't do anything about them anyways. They only add stress and anxiety to you, and that's not good. Be kind to everybody. Give a person a smile when you pass them on the sidewalk or in the shopping mall, and wave at somebody, say hi. Be nice to somebody. You'd be surprised how good of a feeling it is to do that for somebody. Not to mention, we should do that where we all live on this planet together, and we should all try to live together in harmony. Anyways, enough of that. Raymond, Streaming Gamers, appreciate you all. Bye-bye now.